Hey there, Steve's got a question about cannot select geometry for a mirror function. What I really think he's trying to do is do a revolve command because the part is called cork body, and typically cork is spherical and kind of or cylindrical, goes into a bottle. So from this, you can see that he has a center line, and I'm assuming he's going to revolve around it. So that's all the center line is. So I think he's kind of getting confused. Um, what I'd say is, when you're coming into here, just draw a line from there to there, make that your center line, and then instead of having a 650, you go from the center line to your point, and that'd give you a diameter symbol here, so that way you can actually go all the way around the part. Same thing with here, delete that out, dimension to there, 0.4. So that gives you a little bit more information. You got 5 dimensions needed, so show degrees of freedom, put a diameter on that. Probably not. That's probably not the best thing to do. Maybe a diameter to the actual largest spot, 1.47 whatever. Let's make that 1.5 just because. I don't know what your design intent is, but you know, let's see. What's this there? 464, 418. I don't know if any of these dimensions are relevant, but this is crazy. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Again, crazy dimension here, driven by a 4 decimal dimension there. I don't know if you're going to make this thing with like a tooling machine or what. Either split this or trim this. So I'll say split there, make that construction. And let's see how much movement you have on these dimensions here. Okay, so this point right here, at some point you deleted it. Go to our origin, here's your center point. Project the geometry, it brings back our center point. So now we are going to take this point and put it on our center point. So that way we're fully constrained. We have our outside dimension, you have your inside here to there. This point isn't needed as a point. I would delete that. And there's another one there too. Delete that. You got another point there. Delete that. I don't know why you have all these points, but you got another point here. Creating points like that aren't really that necessary, unless you want to define it like that or you have purpose. I would just draw the lines without the points, unless you created the points beforehand, which, you know, who knows. But at that point, once you have it fully constrained, if you say, okay, I want to get this at 23 degrees, no, I'm just not going to do it, 24, there you go. So then you'll notice some of these other things are a little bit wonky because you're dimensioning to a point that isn't defined. So like, let's see, 24. You're going from this point to this point, but it's not a horizontal length, it's a point-to-point length. So once you change that number, the rest of it goes up and down. So let's say if we delete this, put this point on that line, now our dimensions are going to be right, like this. Delete that dimension from this line, well actually this line, to that line, 375. So I'm assuming that this is the same thing. If you delete this, now we get, this one has degrees of freedom, so now you know your points can go. So if we actually put that point on this line, we don't even need this dimension, now it's going to be a reference. Same thing with over here, now we get a reference dimension. So always be careful when dimensioning and drawing that you're not just putting points, because if you have, I'll show you a good example. 2 points from here, I dimension it. Okay, that's 1845, but if you go to here, that's not a straight line. So unless you take this and make it in line with that, then you get a flat dimension. So hopefully that makes sense as far as why you don't use points that aren't fully constrained in the direction that you want. So like those, now they move in line, whereas before, it can rotate, it can move, so there's a lot more degrees of freedom. So unless you have a line like this or there, so then you have the line come up like that, saying that it's horizontal constraints. So hopefully that helps. And then to finish this up, that's the center point of your arc. Finished our sketch. Now you were talking about mirroring to a second sketch. I think you're talking about revolving. So I think that's what you're looking for. Just revolving for a cork stopper, probably for a wine bottle or something. So instead of having the second thing, you can revolve around that sketch if you wanted to. I can't remember if this works or not. Can you revolve around that one? No, because then it just gives you a surface. So if you don't close up the line, which is probably what you were doing beforehand, it doesn't revolve around it. So if you leave it on and you revolve it, there's only one surface. And another thing to note is before, when you had this one as a solid and that one as a solid, the thing you'll notice is when you go to revolve it, it doesn't do it automatically because there's multiple profiles. Because you can say, I want to revolve this one, and then you say, well, what axis? Because hypothetically, if you wanted to revolve, you could select this and that axis. So then you have a revolve there. Or you could do that one along this axis, and then you have a crazy revolve there. So having these things not be construction, that breaks it up into multiple parts. So that way you could hypothetically select these two, still get your center axis, and then you have these parts. Or if you were thinking about it, you could have this one and that axis. So instead, hide those, revolve it. There's only one thing available because only one profile. It's all the way through. It's all fully closed, and gets you your part. So it's probably more of an explanation you're expecting, but a couple of good tips hopes it gets you going.